Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Lights Camera Discussion podcast. My name, of course, is Massey1903, and I'm joined here by two gentlemen that I'd love to kiss, kiss, bang, bang. Collective Unit and Todorov. Guys, how are we doing?
All good, mate. How are you? Very good.
Thank you very much.
The build-up was worth it. Good morning. Oh yeah, I'm very good. I'm even better for that. That was fantastic.
Excellent, excellent. I'm so glad that it went well. For anyone who's listening and sort of doesn't know the context, I told the guys that I had that opening line that I was really looking forward to doing. That obviously relates to our podcast today. So I'm glad that went down well and didn't go down as it normally does. Today we are going through the episode on Shane Black, which was my choice. So I'll be running a tight ship today. As we've said in the last one and in our tweets and things as well, which of course you can see on at LCD_pod on Twitter, or X if you call it that, we'll be covering Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Iron Man 3, Nice Guys, and The Predator. But what we'll do, we'll just get started. We'll get straight into it. So, firstly, Shane Black. Shane Black is an American director, writer, and actor. Considered one of the pioneer screenwriters of the action genre, Black made his mark with his Lethal Weapon screenplay. During rewrites of Lethal Weapon, Black landed a role in a little action film called Predator, a franchise he would later revisit with one of the films that we will discuss today. His scripts often combine action, thriller, noir, and black comedy elements, and are usually set around the holidays. Currently working on a new film called Play Dirty, based on the Parker book series, specifically The Hunter. It will be the third time the book has been adapted to the big screen. So, Shane Black, let's get into it. The first film that we'll be discussing regarding Shane Black is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I would just say this is one of the reasons I chose Shane Black, because I've always heard about this film and I wanted to watch it, so I was interested to give it a go. So Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. After being mistaken for an actor, a New York thief is sent to Hollywood to train under a private eye for a potential movie role. But the duo are thrown together with a struggling actress into a murder mystery. So, first thoughts on Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Collie?
So I think I tend to kick off things by saying if it's a rewatch or not. So I've watched this a couple of times before, not when it first came out, but in the subsequent years. Really enjoyed it. It's kind of atypical, I guess, of some of his scripts of like Lethal Weapon and Long Kiss Goodnight and stuff like that. So snappy dialogue, of buddy cop stuff. So yeah, it's a really good directorial debut for Shane Black, and he definitely hit the ground running with this one.
Todd?
Yeah, so I've heard great things about it, but this was the first watch for me, and it was again when you said Shane Black. It's one of the reasons I was chuffed to kind of do it, and watched it twice within a week, and didn't feel any sort of lag with it. Enjoyed it more a second time. It's a great film, and it's one of those I think I'll enjoy more and more in every watch because of the dialogue in particular. I think there's some comparisons to be made to like other films that we've talked about that I'll probably get into, but fantastic film.
Yep, I completely agree. It was one that I was, as I said, very excited to watch, and Collie hit on the head. It's very typical of a Shane Black film. The sort of the duo, the dialogue, the murder mystery, or at least the mystery side of things, and just like some of the stuff is hilarious when it shouldn't be. And I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I thought it was great, and I one I'd easily rewatch again, definitely. Okay, so let us move on to the sort of the cast. Obviously, the sort of main two that we've kind of touched on there. We have Robert Downey Jr. as Harry Lockhart and Val Kilmer as Gay Perry. Todd, what were your thoughts on their sort of like duo?
So this was the sort of the driving force for me behind the film. I think there's other elements that are brilliant. It was their sort of back and forth the whole way through that drew me back in. I didn't find myself being bored particularly at any point, but like if at any point there was a lull, it was picked up by them too. In particular, it's Val Kilmer's line, and like obviously it's really sad to see what happened to Val Kilmer with illness and that kind of thing, because his speech and stuff's been affected so badly, and the timing of some of the stuff that he said. One of the lines that I wrote down was the sleep badly. where he's like just hates Robert Downey Jr. the entire time. Sleep badly. Any questions, please hesitate to call. Like those kinds of moments that feel like they shouldn't work because of their delivery. I think Robert Downey Jr. because this is obviously like quite. It feels early Robert Downey Jr. I know it's midway through his career technically, but compared to like the renaissance of Robert Downey Jr., it feels quite early doors. But the whole sort of narrator that can sometimes feel a bit tacky and feel a bit sort of like tacked on. Sorry, like Robert Downey Jr. does it with such class. Like I use the word effortless about somebody else this week, but he is just effortless, and I love that about him. Their back and forth was basically what I ended up doing. I tried to like write down like different scenes, and it ends up just being different lines. That's all I've written down is like quotes from this film. And yes, it's down to Shane Black's writing, but it's down to them two delivery. It's down to them two sort of bouncing off each other. I thought they were fantastic, and like I say, really sort of the driving force behind the film.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think as well with the Robert Downey Jr. sort of thing, you can tell that this was kind of what got him the Tony Stark role, because it is a very, it almost feels like it's just Robert Downey Jr. Like it feels like he is Tony Stark and Tony Stark is him, and this was like almost like the demo for that character, which was really good. You're right. It's like for me, I found myself remembering or like being more drawn to lines as opposed to like actual set pieces and things. Like one of the ones I wrote down, and it was the back and forth between the two of them, was look up the word idiot in the dictionary. You know what you'll find? A picture of me? No, the definition of idiot, which is what you are. like stuff like that is just perfect.
Yeah, I had that one noted down as well.
It's just fantastic because I suppose it is subversive in a way as well, but it's also just incredibly funny, and the way it's delivered is brilliant. I know Val Kilmer, like I've seen films that I've not maybe seen as more like, because he was in like Point Break and stuff, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. Which I've not seen like that side of things of him. Like I know him from like Batman and like Top Gun and stuff like that. And to see him doing this was just a nice breath of fresh air, and I think he was absolutely spot on. And as I say, Robert Downey Jr., you can tell that this got in the part of Tony Stark. I thought he was absolutely spectacular from start to finish. Collie?
Yeah, I mean, you have covered quite a lot of it already, but yeah, you're used to Val Kilmer. I'll start with Val Kilmer. Yeah, used to him being like this kind of stoic, cool individual. He's playing like Batman and Iceman, and even in Heat and stuff like that. Like he's just a very handsome, like cool dude. And this, he just gets to let loose a little bit. Like obviously, he looks really suave and handsome as he always does, but he's really allowed to like they have that comic kind of chops and delivery, and I think he absolutely nails it. Even when he's Harry's like, "Do you think I'm stupid?" And he's like, "I don't think you know where to put your food if you didn't flap your mouth so much." Yes, I think you're stupid. Like, and that's obviously like based on Shane Black's writing, but you still have to have the guys to deliver the lines, and to go to Robert Downey Jr. You can't watch this film now without seeing 3 years later or whatever that he's Tony Stark, and it's now been 20 years since this film, and not to like downplay Downey Jr.'s performances, but I'd probably say outside of Oppenheimer, he just plays the same character for the most part. Like, what was that film he did with the guy from The Hangover, Due Date or whatever?
Yeah.
He's just playing like a mix of Tony Stark and himself, which is absolutely fine. But this is like beginning of the comeback. It was obviously mutually beneficial for the fact that we'll talk about Iron Man 3 next. That's what got Shane Black that gig, and they obviously work really, really well together. There was a bit of background that, Downey Jr. has obviously had his substance issues and all that, and Val Kilmer like wouldn't drink around him or do anything like that to kind of support his sobriety, which I thought was really cool, and obviously that must have allowed them to connect on like a friend level massively. Just on Downey Jr. though, did you know who, or did you see who was set to star as Harry before he got brought on board?
No.
Johnny Knoxville was cast by Downey Jr. in this, which I thought would be like it's what was the film? The Ringer. You know what I mean? Like that's the level of film that Johnny Knoxville was ever in, or Dukes of Hazzard or something. So it just wouldn't be the same level of film. And just one Val Kilmer bit of trivia. Val Kilmer mentions he was thinking of Kevin Bacon in the moment when he had to kiss Robert Downey Jr. Just and his quote is just so I could get into it. Was apparently he was just picturing Kevin Bacon. So yeah, fair play, you know. But yeah, just great. And back to what I originally said about the film, like really, really atypical of Shane Black's writing, like back to Lethal Weapon and stuff. Like Lethal Weapon is probably like the blueprint for a lot of buddy cop, and Shane Black obviously wrote that. So this is kind of the 20 years later version of Lethal Weapon to an extent. Obviously not cop, like buddy cop per se, but obviously they become detectives, you know, post the film, like the end kind of scene and stuff like that. So yeah, really, really good performances by both.
Absolutely. The next sort of like character in the film, the sort of the supporter, was Michelle Monaghan as Harmony Faith Lane. What do you think about her performance, Colin? Do you want to start us off with her?
Yeah, I thought she was excellent. I've seen her in a few other things, like Mission Impossible and that, but she's like a bit part in that for the most of it. And then she's been in stuff like Gone Baby Gone, which is really good. But then like Pixels and Patriots Day, like, you know, not really great films or whatever. But I thought this was a real good opportunity for, you know, to show that she is a good actress, again with the comic timing, with the snappy script and stuff. I thought she was really, really funny, especially the scene where she's first at the bar with Harry and her mate's being like a complete cow and like blah blah blah, and then Harry's like, all right, I'm away, see you later. And then she's like, oh my god, didn't you like recognize me? I just thought that was really good, because like we were maybe not that clear as to the context as the viewer at that point, and then she obviously clarifies it for you and him, even though the narration aspect is kind of confirmed. So it's kind of a bit of a blurred line situation, but I just thought she did really, really well all the way through. Her kind of teasing and flirting with Harry on and off throughout the film's really interesting as well. Her shock when he kicks her out because she slept with his friend like however many years ago, and that, like, I thought that was really genuine and well delivered. So yeah, I thought she was great from an actress who I wouldn't really describe as like an amazing actress. I would say that this is an amazing performance.
Yeah, for me, it definitely felt like a sort of a step out of the norm for her, which was nice to see. I don't know why I've got this kind of like this vision of her as like the sort of like not a damsel in distress sort of thing, but like the goody kind of like woman character. But in this one, she obviously had a bit of an edge to her. I really thought, I don't know if you guys thought this as well, it might just be me, but she really reminded me of like Emma Stone, like in a lot of her mannerisms and like the way she kind of like delivered her lines, and was a bit sarcastic with some stuff and things as well. That was kind of the comparison. Obviously this was kind of before.
Yeah,
Emma
I mean, like
stuff.
if it was 10 years later, like mid 2010s or whatever, you could definitely see Emma Stone in that role. That's a really good shout.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I really liked her performance, and you're right. It was the flirty kind of. It was almost like Friends with an element of long lost friends with an element of like the sexual tension between them and stuff as well, which I thought was a really good sort of chemistry that her and Mr. Downey Jr. had together. Yeah, I thought she was really good. Todd?
Yeah, so I know her from Source Code is the one film where kind of she stands out for me, and she's good in that. She's again, she doesn't have a lot to do because it's Jakey Boy's film. But I do you know what? I love the slapstick from her. I think she like nailed that sort of like, so the scene where Puri's like being stalked by those guys and he's not aware of it yet, and she has to like run across the bridge and she like tumbles over the side and the gun goes off, like that sort of thing she nails really well. And when she cuts off Harry's finger, and it's like from that anger to the panic, works really well. Yeah, I thought she did a class job. And like you say, a little bit sort of out of what the norm for what we see her. But yeah, it hit the comedy, and I think when you've got Downey Jr. and Kilmer doing like bits, like really good bits, like it's good that she's given that opportunity as well, because sometimes I think that sort of character could be like cast aside. So yeah, did a class job, and like you say, I love the relationship that was clearly there from the start between the two of them.
Stuff. Any other characters that stood out for yourselves, Collie?
Not particularly. It was a lot of bit part actors and stuff like that. What's his face? The party host. What was his name again? Harlan Dexter. Corbin Bernsen is him. I thought he was good in like what he had to do. I thought oh god, I can't even remember. He's like the character actor, the bald guy that's talking to Perry right at the start of the film. He's in loads of stuff.
Yeah,
He's like Harry's connection to him, or like I can't even remember the guy's name, but he was fine enough. But it was mainly about these three, so there's nothing really of note to mention.
agreed. Todd.
Yeah, I'm the same. It was their three's film. Yeah,
Absolutely. And anything else like directorially, anything like cinematography wise, or was it more kind of the writing stuff that you want to? Anything else you want to speak about with that, Collie?
The writing for me, kind of has been covered. I thought like the decision to have a narrator and kind of be quite meta and stuff, I thought was an interesting choice. Not really, perhaps a Shane Black thing. And even bit of trivia on that kind of thing is when Harry attributes Perry's dubious survival to when the quote studio gets paranoid about a downer ending. The same rationale was used for Lethal Weapon 2 and Long Kiss Goodnight, both written by Shane Black. So that was him kind of meta comment on the studio don't really like downer endings kind of thing. So that was him voicing his thoughts on that, I guess, like through Harry. So I thought that was quite meta. And pretty cool is that the Hollywood party at the start is actually at his house, which I thought was a cool bit of trivia as well.
Nice.
Todd, anything?
Yeah, like the writing was the main thing. Just on that meta side of stuff, like when we talked about the Brothers Bloom on the Ryan Johnson episode, like I feel like this is the film that Brothers Bloom wanted to be.
And you know the start of this when he's doing the magic trick, I was like, oh my god, I'm watching the Brothers Bloom again.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It was like you could have them like side by side, and it's the exact same, like with the yellow kind of hue filter and stuff like that. I thought that was quite a funny comparison compared to last episode.
And though the difference is though, like this worked, like the meta stuff
100%.
worked, and like you say at the end with the inclusion of Perry and like, oh, he's survived, and then they bring in fucking Elvis and Abe Lincoln, and they like shuffling them out, and you're like, no, like that sort of stuff really worked, and I think again it was because it had that sort of like. And again, I'll come to this with the Predator. It had that atmosphere about it. Like Robert Downey Jr. set that up early, that it can be a bit goofy, that it can be a bit silly. Yeah, I just thought it was brilliant, and it's one of those that I'll rewatch time and time again.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, there was just one. I mean, we could go through the lines and stuff, the quotes and that for days. But there's the moment when they're kind of like caught by the guy, and they're in like the abandoned, or sort of the hospital place, and they're tied up, and Gay Perry shoots him with a gun, like from his dick, and then Robert Downey Jr. says, "Thank God you had a gun there. I thought it was a gay thing, and you guys could do that." It's just so stupid, but it's like so funny, and just I just love that sort of that humor. Is totally up my street. Okay, look. Anything else you guys want to chat about with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang? You happy enough with that?
Oh, good.
Right, scores for Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Collie.
For me, it's 4. I'd say like the two leads are like 5-star performances, but it's only a 4 for me. I thought the story was as good as the writing was. I thought the story was a bit all over the place and a bit convoluted. So that's why it's maybe marked a little bit lower than it should be.
Todd?
Yeah, so I started on a 4 on a rewatch, bumped it up to 4.5. Yeah, so I'm sticking with 4.5.
Yeah, I would say 4.5, and I think it's same for yourself, Colin. Like, I think the story was maybe a little bit convoluted at points, but it probably took it down from a 5 to a 4.5 for me.
I mean, I think even Harry comments it at one point. He's like, "Oh, I've seen Lord of the Rings with all the fake endings and stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And I get that comment, but I still feel the film did that as well. So I was like, you can't like slag off Lord of the Rings and then do it yourself, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so moving swiftly on to the next film, which is Iron Man 3. When Tony Stark's world is torn apart by a formidable terrorist called the Mandarin, he starts an odyssey of rebuilding and retribution. Okay, so first thoughts on Iron Man 3, Collie.
Really enjoyed it. I remember enjoying it when it first came out, and it's probably one of those Marvel films for me that's actually quite a bit of a grower. Going into it way back when, I was kind of a bit down on the Iron Man films because 2 was like really I'll say, like not like shit or anything like that, but it was a real big, downward drop in quality from the first one. This doesn't maybe hit the heights of the first one because that was so new and original, but really enjoyed it. Really good cast. Quite enjoyed the story. There's one twist in the story which we can talk about when we're talking about performances and stuff. But yeah, solid film.
Good stuff. Todd?
Yeah, I'm the same. It was in the sort of when we like bang into Marvel and at every single opening night type thing. Yeah, it really enjoyed it. I think I enjoy it more now than I did when I first saw it, and I wasn't down on it in the first place. Great performances, and like you say, some of the twists and turns the story takes, I think, are really cool. And it's a little bit more. Obviously, it's not like Deadpool, Wolverine levels of violence and gore, but in terms of like the MCU films, it's one that's got a little bit more sort of grit to it than some of the others, which again we'll touch on. But yeah, really enjoyed it.
Good stuff. Yeah, I'm the same. It's one of those that I enjoyed it at first, but watching it again, like I don't know if it's because I appreciated maybe Shane Black's writing and things a bit more, made me kind of have a bit more of an affinity for it. Yeah, I totally agree with the fact that it kind of pushed it a little bit further, especially of the MCU stuff at that time. It kind of pushed things a little bit further, and I think having, instead of like being a typical MCU film where they have their own in-house kind of style and way of writing, a way of doing a story, having Shane Black, an actual, I don't want to say auteur, but like a writer, an established writer, taking the reins, kind of gave it a little bit of something different, which is refreshing. And yeah, I enjoyed it. There's some things I didn't enjoy about it still to this day, but I did enjoy it for the main part. Okay, so I mean, Tony Stark, he's obviously the absolute MVP of any Iron Man film. But Todd, what's your thoughts on Robert Downey Jr. and his generational role of Tony Stark?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's hard to talk about because it's so familiar. Do you know, he's synonymous with Tony Stark, and it'll be interesting to see what he's doing next with it's Doctor Doom, isn't it? Like I just think he embodies that character. He's got the attitude. He's clearly a good guy as well. Like I know Tony Stark in a lot of places is often played to be a bit of a prick. You know, the whole Tony Stark has a heart. I think shows up a lot in this film. Again, love the quips, and that's down to the writing, but it is just down to the performance. The way he interacts with with the little kid in it, and sort of like not cutting any corners and just being a bit of an asshole, I think was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's just it's hard to talk about because he's just Tony Stark. It's what we've come to expect, and I think again we won't ever know. But I don't think the MCU would be anywhere near what it was if it wasn't for him. He is the sort of the driving force behind it. Yeah, things like it's a big buddy, relax about it. Like those little throwaway lines that we sort of the quippiness, I think is the phrase. I don't know if that's a real word, but I'm using it. Like those sort of things that we see in Marvel films now, where I roll my eyes. I don't know about anybody else, but like when I watched the new Captain America film, and I'm like, oh, please, like he sells it so well. I just thought he was brilliant, and like his interaction with Rhodes and like the way that they sort of bounce off each other, the War Machine rocks line, and how Tony feels about that. But I think I haven't watched Iron Man 1 and 2, and again, I tried not to when we were talking about Star Wars, I tried not to watch it as a franchise film and just watch it as its own thing. And obviously with Endgame and stuff, but it feels like this is the most grounded Tony Stark we've got as well. And I know that plays into the anxiety stuff and the PTSD stuff and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I think there's a lot of humanity to him as well, which I thought was really good. And I don't. The weird thing is, not my favorite performance in this film, which is mad because I'd have expected that. But yeah, he was still phenomenal, and he's just Tony Stark.
Collie?
Yeah, I mean, this is his fourth film, technically, I think, apart from maybe the cameo in Incredible Hulk, if you include that. But it's Iron Man 1, 2, Avengers, and then this. So he has fully settled into it. But I think exactly what Todd's saying, he brings humanity to him now, and he's kind of not humble, maybe, but like more humble than he has been previously. The story decisions, which is obviously a Shane Black thing, when it comes to destroying the suits at the end and stuff, I thought was really, really good. But yeah, just going back to when Todd's saying like his interactions with the kid, the bit when the kid's like, "I'm cold." He's like, "I can tell. You know how I can tell?" And then he drives off. He's like, "Because we're connected." And it makes me laugh every time. Because obviously that's like the kid like 2 seconds before has said how connected they are and he wants to help him and stuff. So I thought that was really good. The only criticism of that, we'll come back to it with the Predator, but I think that maybe gave Shane Black an idea that kids should be used more in films as narrative devices, which is incorrect. But anyway, we'll come back to it. But purely talking about Downey Jr., I did the opposite to you, Todd. Originally, I was like, I'll just watch up until Iron Man 3. I'll watch everything before that up until Iron Man 3. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'll watch up until Endgame. And then I got to Endgame and I was like, oh, fuck it. I'll just watch. So I've watched all of the MCU in the last month and a bit. Not so much for the podcast, but just in general, because I wanted to see up to date, like in like, you know, back to back kind of thing. But this is probably like, not maybe peak interest in the MCU for me, but it was, you know, this was, like you say, opening night, seeing everything. Everyone's on top form. Downey Jr. is leading this, but as what I wait to get onto, the supporting cast is brilliant as well.
Yep, absolutely.
For the most
part. Yeah, completely agree. I think this is him in full flows as Downey Jr. and giving a layered performance like that in, you know, in the MCU, which at that time was definitely more fantastical. You know, as you say, we just had Avengers where the Chitauri had shown up and things, and you know, it could very well have ballooned into that sort of way. I mean, it did at points, obviously, with some of the powers and stuff that happened, but him delivering such a grounded performance as a comic book character was really interesting. And again, it's as I spoke about with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, he is Tony Stark. Tony Stark. It's like it's the whole Batman thing. It's like, is Bruce Wayne the mask? Like, is Robert Downey Jr. the mask? Tony Stark is actually him. So yeah, I love his performance as Iron Man and anything he does. And just kind of I'm almost going back into Delivery for Tony Stank sort of territory here, but people are down on him being Doctor Doom. I think it could be quite interesting casting. It's definitely controversial, which we can see from the comments stuff, but I'm interested to see what he does with that. Okay, moving on to the supporting cast. There's obviously quite a list of supporting cast. Main ones, kind of more bit part players. We've got Guy Pearce as Aldrich Killian, who we spoke about recently in the Oscars. Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts, of course. Don Cheadle as Rhodes, which you spoke about there. Todd. Rebecca Hall, Colley's favourite actress, as Maya. Jon Favreau back as Happy Hogan. Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin. James Badge Dale, who was someone we spoke about for Shame, for the Steve McQueen. So yeah, thoughts on kind of Ty Simpkins, of course, as the kid as well. Thoughts on the supporting cast and anyone that stood out for yourself, Colley?
I mean, Guy Pearce I thought was excellent. I thought he was really, really good as a baddie. Even when he's playing the kind of long-haired, kind of nerdy type at the beginning of the film, and then the next time you see him, he's all suave in the suit, he's in great shape and stuff, and he's like obviously flirting with Pepper and that. There was apparently a version of the script that like he seduced Pepper, had sex with her, made a sex tape and released it into the press to embarrass her or something like that. So I'm glad we didn't go down that route. Wow. Back to Guy Pearce. I think he plays Sinister so well. We did talk about this in the Oscars episode for The Brutalist, but yeah, he's just a fantastic actor. Even what was the Lawless that he was in, he just plays evil really well, but with a bit of like classiness about him, a bit of suave in that. So I thought he was brilliant. Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin. We can run through the cast and we can come back to more story beats, but I thought he was so good. I thought he was hilarious. Great kind of inclusion, and on my thoughts on the twist, I love the twist. And some of the kind of scenes where Rhodes and Tony are like looking after him and that, and he just comes away with so many random lines, like celebrating the football and all that stuff. And even like his first introduction when you see him as like like as the real actor, and he comes out and he's just like, girls don't go into the toilet, just so stupid, like so stupid, but really good. Didn't really like either women roles in this film. I'm not a big fan of either of them as actresses. Like Rebecca Hall just fucks me off so much. She's in two of my favorite films, in The Prestige and The Town. I just do not think she's a convincing actress. I don't know what it is. I just find her delivery so like hollow and like she's just reading from a teleprompter kind of thing. It's just one note, no emotion or anything like that. I just think she's pretty shite, to be honest. And Gwyneth Paltrow, this to be fair, like this is probably one of her better performances as Pepper, but I don't think that's saying much. She made like $20 million off this film, which I think is a ridiculous salary for what she had to do and the performance that she put in. But that's just me, and it's good to see like Happy in it. And I thought it was an interesting thing to have Happy in it because Jon Favreau obviously directed the first two, and he's not directing this one, but I think he said he quite enjoyed the experience of just being able to play Happy and have fun with it. I really like Don Cheadle as Rhodes in the little bits and pieces that he had to do, and I thought James Badge Dale was excellent as the kind of henchman, kind of main like sub villain, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought he's good. He's never going to be a leading man, but I think he always comes in with a great performance when it's asked of him.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. Yeah, for me, Guy Pearce was definitely a standout in terms of the supporting cast. As we spoke about, he is great. You're right. It's the charisma behind the sort of sinisterness, isn't it? That he brings. It's so endearing, and that's what makes such a good villain. Is that you always want to root for him, but
yeah. I mean that scene with the inside of his brain that he's got in the office with Pepper. I thought that was class. I thought that was really like. It's weird how like seductive it is.
Yeah.
And like obviously as viewers we can see that, but Pepper's a bit like, ooh, like flustered by it.
Yeah. So were you, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah, I'm with you with the two women characters, not because I hate women, but because of Gwyneth Paltrow and Rebecca Hall.
I mean, I didn't even have to preface my opinions with that, surely, but okay, yeah, you had to state it, I guess.
But yeah, I thought Gwyneth Paltrow's a weird one because I seen an interview recently with her where she was like, someone said she'd done however many MCU films, 8 or 10 or something like that, and she was like, 8 or 10, like no way, like I've done that amount and stuff. It's almost like she's an actor, obviously that's what she gets paid for. She does it for the paycheck, but it's almost like there's like no sort of like
there's no passion for it.
Exactly.
For it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that does come across in it, unfortunately. I'm with you, Rebecca Hall. I know you obviously have. I think your hatred runs more deep because she's in The Town and The Prestige and stuff. You're one of your favorite.
I think she's just a shit actress.
Yeah,
like, I don't know what it is. Like you just look at all the films that she's done, and none of them are really good in the last 10 years or something like that. 10 plus years.
Mm-hmm. So Ben Kingsley, I think he's great. I think when he's menacing as the original Mandarin, and I think his performance when it turns into Travis Slattery is great as well. I didn't like the twist. That's something that for me is a bit weak. I don't know if it's because it's such a missed opportunity because the Mandarin can be such a interesting, strong villain. And I mean, I suppose you can kind of say that Guy Pearce was the Mandarin. But the sort of like terrorist side of things for me is a really interesting avenue to go down, especially with like Iron Man and the whole story with the government and how they sometimes overreach and how that can play into like a character like the Mandarin. I wish they'd gone down that way a bit more, but as I say, Ben Kingsley's performance with what he had to do, I thought he was great. I thought he was really funny, and even going into like Shang-Chi and stuff as well, I really enjoyed him in that as him as well. Yeah, James Badge Dale, he's an interesting one. I really like him. I think he's a good character. He's a good character actor as well. With what he does, I've never really seen him, even like in silly things that he's done that I've seen him in. He's not bad. He's always given a good, consistent performance. So it was good to see him have a bit more to do here and be a bit more menacing and have a bit more screen time. So yeah, absolutely. I think the supporting cast for the main part was pretty good fun. Todd?
Yeah, I think I wrote down Don Cheadle's sincerity. Like, I think he brings such a sincerity to the role. That's the only way that I could describe it. For me, I like the twist with Ben Kingsley. I think it only works though because you have such a prestige actor in that role. I think if you put a lesser actor in that role, it doesn't work. That the line about not your army, not your red and white and blue attack dog can save you. Like that was so well delivered and so sinister, and it just. I wish I didn't know. Do you know what I mean? I wish I could rewatch this film every single time and not know that what's happening. But is sort of hi, I'm Trevor, and the little handshake, the offer of the handshake, like that switch works so well. And like you say, the cheering for it's weird as well that it isn't just some like anonymous like game on the telly in the background. Like it's an actual Premier League game that's going on, and I just thought that was like a nice little inclusion. But yeah, it was it was amazing from Ben Kingsley. And like you say about Guy Pearce, he's just from the get go. Like you can just see he's got that about him. You can see he's going to be a bastard the whole way through. And again, when he's in that sort of the situation where they've got Tony like kidnapped or held hostage type thing, I thought that was really cool. He's a believable sort of supervillain as well. In those moments where he's got the powers as such. It works really well. But yeah, I think we've touched on everything. That James Badge Dale just looked like a dickhead. Like he just has that face about him. Especially in it's like the bar brawl going into the little town, into the shops and stuff. Those moments there where he's got hold of the tower and melting it and stuff, I thought that was really like again just a bastard. Really well cast, and I think you've got Don Cheadle who's done stuff like Hotel Rwanda that he was incredible in. You've got Ben Kingsley who's obviously like one of the most like say prestige actors doing these wild little bits and pieces where you mix the comedy with the serious, and I just think you've got a supporting cast that works really well.
Absolutely. There's one character we didn't really touch on. So the younger character, obviously, the Jen Ortega as the president's daughter.
Stop.
That was her film debut. I don't think she'd been in anything before that.
Sorry, it was a little joke there. Ty Simpkins though, as the kid, Collie.
I thought he was class. I thought he was really, really funny. Just his comedic like delivery and stuff, like I was saying about that, like because we're connected bit, like gets me every time. But even just like when he first like comes in with his potato gun or whatever, and then shoots it, and then Tony's like, "Oh, you're out of ammo," or whatever. He's like, "Oh yeah, shit," kind of thing. I thought he was just good. I thought very endearing. Like kid actors, you can be kind of a hit or a miss, but yeah, I thought he was great.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed his inclusion, and I think again it helped that humanity of Tony Stark. So
I thought like talking about wider MCU implications. I thought it was a good like trial run to see Tony with a young guy, again, young boy, whatever, in terms of like preparation for his relationship with Peter.
Yeah, like making him like a father figure.
Exactly. I mean, and even maybe reading too much into it, but it speaks to it because for the fact that, spoiler alert, at the end of Endgame, he's brought back to be at his funeral and stuff, whereas you could have just completely forgotten about him. Whereas I think it's kind of, I think they included that in Endgame as kind of probably an Easter egg, knowing the Russos just for like, oh, like who we can include. But I read a bit more meta into it in terms of like, it shows that Iron Man 3 does, stand up against a lot of the, maybe more like revered or maybe more like praised MCU films, but kind of all the way back to what Todd said at the start. Like I think this is a film that's grown on me. When it first came out, I was like, oh, it's good but not great. But I think it's kind of pushing on to the maybe A tier of MCU films.
Absolutely. In terms of obviously Shane Black and stuff taking control of an MCU film with his writing and directing, was there anything that stood out for you guys with what he did? Todd, anything? Or sorry, Colin.
No, Todd first.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, I like the swings that he took. That it was a little bit more adult. I think it's cool that like he had the inclusion of the he's not going to have blood and guts, but this burning thing where limbs can come off and it's still not that violent, like, was really cool. Like in that scene with that I was talking about, with the bar rolling into the small town, where that woman's like one of the villains is like on top of the electric wires. It's just laid burning on it. Like, I think things that are really cool. I know, like this the suits at the end, I thought was a really cool idea. That, like, if you know Marvel comics, and I don't really know Iron Man all too well, I'm sure you'll be able to see like different suits that haven't been used in the films yet or whatever, that you're like, oh, that's the Mark whatever, or that's the this thing. And like, you've got what I assume is a prototype for the Hulkbuster or whatever, like holding up the crane, and then you've got like different ones flat. I love that. And like I say, I'm not a massive Marvel guy in terms of like knowing every in and out, but I love that inclusion as well. Yeah, I thought it was some really good action set pieces. And looking at his other films, it's not something that he's done prior to this. It's not something that he's thought about in terms of directing. We had one proper action set piece in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. So yeah, I thought he did a fantastic job with it. And I know this isn't necessarily down to Shane Black. The CGI is unbelievable. And I'm not, people talk about the CGI in the MCU now. They're like, oh, well, they're churning a lot out quick. There was 2 a year, and they were still getting the CGI. The house falling to bits, I thought, was phenomenal. And that was just watching it on like a little monitor. Do you know what I mean? Like on a little telly. Like, I think he did a fantastic job with, Marvel films are under massive scrutiny and always have been and always will be. I think he did a fantastic job with it.
Sorry, I just have like a vision of you watching on, like, one of those little like portable TVs.
Just squinting at
it. Collie.
Yeah, I think Todd's nailed it. I think he stepped up to the scrutiny of the MCU very well. One sequence that I thought was quite like Shane Black was the whole henchman thing when Tony's like tied to the bed, and he keeps like doing that for like the suit to appear, and obviously it just takes ages and ages and ages. And some of the henchmen are just like, some of their lines are funny, and then the last one, he's like, I just work here or whatever. These guys are weird.
So weird,
and then he just like runs away. I thought that was really funny. So there is the kind of the comic elements of it. And again, maybe not a Shane Black thing, but I thought the kind of post credits kind of revealed that it was all an anecdote of Tony telling Bruce. Mm-hmm. This, and Bruce is like falling asleep and he's like, I'm not that kind of doctor, and I thought that was quite good. How much inclusion Shane Black had in that, I'm not too sure, but really enjoyed it, and I think there's enough Shane Black isms, I guess, in the film to make it a unique kind of introduction, or sorry, not introduction, like a placement in the MCU, because at the end of the day, this is a third film in a trilogy, so it's quite hard, even if this was like not MCU related or whatever, it was just a film trilogy, to take on the third film. I think it's quite a big ask, and I think he does really well.
Yep, totally agree. Okay, anything else happen off? I think we've spoke about that pretty extensively. Yeah.
I one note I had on Downey Jr. was that he made $75 million off this film, which is 30 times what his upfront salary was for Iron Man 1. So
jeez, oh my goodness. And
then I know he's a way to get paid fucking $500 million or whatever to play Doctor Doom. So yeah, cool. GG's, I guess.
Kevin Feige, I'll do it for 10 million if you want.
And he's now an Oscar winner and stuff. So yeah, everything's coming up, Downey Jr.
Yep, absolutely. Right, scores. Iron Man 3, Todd.
I went with 4 stars.
Collie?
4 for me.
Yeah, 4 for me too. Good, we're all agreed. First time ever. Okay, let us move on to the next one in Shane Black's filmography. We're moving on to The Nice Guys. In 1970s Los Angeles, LA, a mismatched pair of private eyes investigate a missing girl and the mysterious death of a porn star. Todd, first thoughts on Nice Guys?
So this is a rewatch. It's a film that I should be watching so much more often, and I don't know why I don't watch it on a regular basis. I love Ryan Gosling anyway. The man can do no wrong. But with Shane Black's writing, the setting, the performances around the 2 main cast, which I know we'll get into, the storyline as well, again, it gets a little bit lost in itself and then brings itself back around. it's a phenomenal film, and it's one that I think doesn't get the credit it deserves. It is an underrated film by all stretch of the imagination. But yeah, really enjoy it. It's a rewatch as well.
Hmm. Totally agree. Like this is, I think it's my third or fourth time watching it, and every time I see it, I just love it more. There's so much to it that it's incredible. You're right, it's underrated, but I feel like there is a cult following. You always see, if like on Twitter or something, there's like films that deserve a sequel, and this is always one that's normally kind of pointed at. It's such a shame that we have not had a sequel to this because it suits it so well. The film from top to bottom for me is just an absolute masterpiece. It's incredible. Collie?
Oh yeah, I love this film, and I think like watching it so closely to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, I think everything that he did well in that, I think he's just like improved upon 10 years later. And like as much as I love Downey Jr. and Kilmer's kind of chemistry in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, I think Gosling and Crowe's in this is like even better. Like that's nothing against Downey Jr., but I think it's a lot of that's to do with the writing and even the supporting cast in this. I think there are more people below the lead two that kind of prop them up as well. Whereas kind of when we're talking about Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, it was like those two, Monaghan, and then like nothing much after that. Whereas this, there is like multiple tiers of great performances that prop this film up. Absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, I mean, let's just get straight into obviously the buddy cop in inverted commas two of Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling and their chemistry together. Todd, what are your thoughts on them two?
It's perfect in like the setup for them, as in Crowe's already damaged Ryan Gosling like at the start of the film, and that sort of like the build up of pure hatred in that scene at the bowling alley where they sat like negotiating. There's no rush. There's no sort of like, oh, all of a sudden we best pals again. Like they build and build and build to like that final scene. But I think again when we talk about like prestige actors, and I know like they're not Oscar winners. They just bounce off each other so well, and I like the fact that there's like little callbacks right the way through the film between them, and I think there's a third element to the sort of the buddy cop stuff that I know we'll get into in terms of performances. I like the fact that Russell Crowe is doing slapstick bits as well. Like we know what Ryan Gosling does, and we know that he can do comedy well, but Russell Crowe's often this like sort of we used the word stoic earlier. Like he's often that sort of like angry stoic character, and in this, the spit take he does, where I'm fucking your dad, and like he just like spits every like that was amazing from him. The scene, and I know it's one of the most famous scenes in the film, it's used everywhere, where Russell Crowe interrupts Ryan Gosling on the toilet when he's got the tab in his mouth and he's reading, and he's like trying to like wrestle with the door and the tab, and then he's like dropping the magazine, trying to cover it, turn around, close your eyes. Like those moments for me are what make this film what they are. Ryan Gosling's delivery of some of the lines where he says, where he's writing the notes. I can't remember who he's talking to. He's writing the notes and he says, "Thank you. Porn is bad." Like it's just the most stupid lines. And the young lady, the porno young lady, they are. Again, it's down to Shane Black's writing, but it's delivery and it's time and it's this. Again, Ryan Gosling can do it all. We've seen him do, the serious. If you look at some of his earlier films as well, like The Believer, I know I talked about it a while ago. I'm obsessed with it. Like he does serious really well. He does comedy really well. He can do the lot, but he's typecasting it this sort of cynical, sarcastic dickhead. And having that against this gruff Russell Crowe is just fantastic. I'm going to stop talking because again, I could be on for days. Go on, sorry.
Collie?
Did you say that they're not Oscar winners there
He
at the
did
start
say
of that or
that.
something
Yeah, he
like
did
that?
say
And
that.
both of them have been nominated 3 times, and Russell Crowe's won one. Just to
I
clarify.
apologise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
just to clarify. Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, we've even
shocking.
spoke about Ryan Gosling being nominated for one for Barbie.
I know he
so-
was nominated. I knew he was
Yeah,
nominated. I didn't know.
So anyway, one bit about it, like before I get onto the acting performance of Russell Crowe, there's a bit of trivia that says Russell Crowe put on some extra weight for the role. I feel like Russell Crowe's been putting on extra weight for the last 20 years. He just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm like, not like body shaming him and stuff, but I just laughed at that bit. It was like he put on some extra weight for this role, feeling the character as an enforcer thug should be a stocky brawler type. I was like, I kind of feel like he was like that anyway.
Yeah.
He just seems to balloon bigger and bigger. Anyway, that's like nothing against him, but
So harsh.
exactly what you say, Todd. I mean, I've lost weight now, so I can call fat people fat, I guess. You should get on some of that Ozempic or whatever it's called. So back to Russell Crowe, like just this isn't a role that you're used to seeing him in. And I think he is brilliant, and I'd love to see him in more. Obviously, you're used to seeing him in like Gladiator, Beautiful Mind, all that kind of really, really prestigious roles, great like dramatic, delivery in that. But this, he just like leans into it perfectly, and I think like his kind of public persona or his kind of the perception of how he is as a person is that he's quite a grumpy guy, but there's other elements that I think he comes across quite funny in real life as well. So I think this is like the realist he's maybe been in a film. But yeah, just to go on to Ryan Gosling, like love Ryan Gosling, always have, love him in like everything he ever does. But in this, he's just so funny. This is like probably the funniest he is. Maybe Ken, he's funny, but that's because it's like an outwardly silly character. Whereas this, the scream that he does when his arm gets broken is so stupid. It's so ridiculous, but completely believable as well. I know you were probably going to talk about Massey, but when he cuts his hand or cuts his arm open when he's trying to break into the door, he's like, "That's so much blood! That's so much blood! That's so much blood!" And he just faints. It's just brilliant. It's so stupid. And then Todd, you were talking about the kind of the toilet stall scene is just hilarious from a physical aspect. But I've got a couple of conversations between them two that I've noted down. It's when he goes, Munich, what? Guy out his balls. I'm Munich. Munich is a city in Germany. Munich, München. You sure? My dad was stationed there. Right. Hitler only had one ball. Like, what? Where does that come from? And then the kind of narration aspect of him when he's like, I work in a cesspool. Cesspool, sex, more sex. My wife, she used to say, I make a living off rumpy pumpy. Whatever. She was English. I don't know what the fuck it means either. Just, obviously, not a lot of that Shane Black's writing, like you said, Todd, but just Gosling's delivery of it is hilarious. And then, like, one final quote thing that so I won't steal it all away from you, Massey, or whatever, but it's the kid on the bike. You guys want to see my dick? Nobody wants to see your dick, dude. $20? We already paid you 20. And then he just goes, what am I saying? Like it's like Gosling is so good at that. He does it in La La Land. He does it as Ken. He does it in a variety of things nowadays. But the fact that he can do the serious stuff as well is why for me, he's like S tier actor of his generation because he can do everything pretty much. But yeah, Massey, I think I've stolen pretty much everything about the lead too, but feel free to crack on.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, yeah, I'll just keep going on Ryan Gosling. The way, like, whenever something happens and he screams Jesus in like a high pitched way, it just every time gets me like perfectly. There's the bit with when they're talking, he's talking to is it Jack? No, his daughter's friend when they're coming back home, and they're like, "Oh, you might be at her house," and she's like, "Oh yeah, my sister had a boy over," and he goes, "Your sister's such a slut." Like, it's just brilliant, and I can't remember the exact thing, but it's like you took the Lord's name in vain. And he's like, no, I didn't, Janet. Like, just the way he delivers it is perfect. I thought the chemistry between him and obviously Russell Crowe was incredible, but between him and his daughter as well was just fantastic. So I thought she was an absolute standout. The moment when you're talking about, obviously, the bowling alley when they're when they're negotiating stuff. She turns up and she says, "I was giving you like a rim job," and then he's like, "No, rim
Yeah.
shot." Like,
Yeah.
it's such, again, the writing is absolutely perfect. It's a lot of it is Shane Black, but for Ryan Gosling to deliver some of the stuff that he does is just unbelievably pitch perfect, and pretty much everything he says gets a laugh for me every time. I just think he's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, just one more quote about between him and the daughter. It's like, Dad, there's like whores here and stuff. He's like, how many times have I told you don't say and stuff, just say Dad, there's whores here? And then she goes, well, there's a ton.
Yeah. And then later on, when she's talking to one of the porn folks, she says, "I don't say and stuff."
Yeah, she's like educated. I thought that was class, like a good callback.
But yeah, I absolutely love Gosling's performance. It's one of my favorite ones of his. And Russell Crowe, you're absolutely right. I think seeing him do this is so. It's almost special seeing him do something like this compared to what he's known for. Yeah, I think they're just unbelievable together. In terms of time, let's go into like kind of the supporting cast, so we can kind of talk about them a bit. So, as I said, the daughter Holly March, played by I think it's Anjali Rice. I think that's how you say her name.
Yeah.
Matt Bomer as John Boy. Margaret Qualley as well. I totally forgot she was in this. Keith David as well. Thoughts on kind of the supporting cast, Collie?
Those two, like Keith David and the other guy, I can't remember his name, as the kind of the two henchmen, and he gets the blue like ink all over his face, and it's when he's like, "Oh, I tried to stop him." He's like, "No, you didn't try and stop me," kind of thing. He was just like, "Oh, don't look at that," kind of thing. He's like, "Oh, that'll set it off," and he like, says it like so nonchalantly, and then as soon as it blows up in the face, the guy goes fucking nuts. But yeah, they were the goods. I thought Qualley was good in as little as she was in it. But yeah, I kind of said at the start there's such a good supporting cast, and there is, but it is the main three, and then every so often there's like good interactions with other characters. But I thought the two like henchman baddies were standouts for me.
Todd?
Yeah, the henchmen were fantastic. Like for me, Anjali Rice is to keep up with them two. Like the scene where they negotiate, and then she's like, "Oh, you beat people for money. Could you beat up my friend? What could I get for $30?" And Ryan Gosling's just there, like, "What the fuck? Like, how am I part of this conversation? This isn't a real thing." I think she was amazing. And it's weird now. So, have you seen the Mean Girls, the remake,
she's
the musical? Like, because she's so well cast as Jenna Fisher's daughter, I just see her as this little Jenna Fisher. It's all I can see in her. I'm surprised she hasn't done more. I know she's like been in like Spider-Man and she's done some TV stuff, but she nailed this. Even in the moments like without Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe, she gets it spot on. Yeah, I love the interactions between the henchmen. Like you say, it is again, it's a good supporting cast, and I think the different sort of like bit players that sort of come in, that just come in and out for a scene, work really well. But the chemistry between them three and Janet, the little friend and stuff, were excellent. But yeah, it belongs to Gosling, Crowe, and Rice, definitely.
I think, Collie, what you said at the start was absolutely spot on. It's like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, but like just elevated that bit more because, as you say, the supporting cast is just better. The writing's just that tad bit better. The chemistry between the two is just that tad or so, like, I don't mean necessarily better, but just elevated that step more, which I think is very apt. Okay, anything else you want to talk about with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang? We've already spoken about that. The Nice Guys.
I thought just one more note about a performance that Matt Bomer, however you say his name, is John Boy, and he was really sinister. I thought,
yeah,
and like you're saying with the daughter and her pal, I thought that scene when they're in the house, like without Russell Crowe and Gosling, I thought she held her own there, and I thought that interactions were really good as well.
Yep, agreed.
Some of the comedy stuff as well, like the scene about the birds can't breathe, the pollution, I thought was genius. That was so. It was like a sketch in itself. And also that van hit took me out, like came out of nowhere. That was wild. I think he does like over the top violence and like comedy so well, but it's not forced at all. And I think that's really hard to get right, especially in a film like this. They were my main things. Yeah.
Totally agree. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about with Nice Guys? I think we've kind of covered quite a bit.
Yeah, all good to score.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Right. Todd, scores for Nice Guys.
5 stars.
Collie?
5 stars.
It's 5 stars for me as well. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so going from one 5-star film to another, we're moving on to the next one, which is The Predator. When a young boy accidentally triggers universe's most lethal hunters return. When a young boy accidentally triggers universe's most lethal hunters return to Earth, only a ragtag crew of ex-soldiers and a disgruntled scientist can prevent the end of the human race. Okay, thoughts, Todd?
So I saw this at the cinema. I was really excited about it because it was Shane Black. So I saw it at the cinema when it came out, and I don't know if I was just in a really good mood, if I'd eaten some good food before it. I came out thinking, like, it's not the best film ever, but I had a good time with it. Like, genuinely, that was how I sort of reacted to it. And so I was ready to come into this and be like, I don't know what your problem is. It's just a good time at the cinema. Just fucking chill out, lad. It was shit. It's so bad. And I want to... So Shane Black, obviously, he writes his films with people. I didn't realise that until, like, went through for this, And he wrote this with Fred Dekker. And I just want to start, right? I won't mention it anymore because this is a Shane Black episode. Fred Dekker wrote Night of the Creeps, in which the main quote is, "Girls, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is your prom dates are here." And the girls go, "What's the bad news?" "They're dead." Right? It's a cheesy as fuck 80s zombies film. It's amazing, but it's like... And then he wrote Monster Squad, where, again, brilliant film. Dracula uses dynamite. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. And this was not the place for him to be writing with Shane Black. That's all I'm going to say. Collie, go on.
Can I just say, I'm just watching Collie's face the whole time, and you're just seething, and I fucking love it. So go.
So you described Shane Black at the start, I think, as I noted it down when you said it, a pioneer writer of the action genre. Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know, like, how... I genuinely don't... I cannot comprehend how wrong, like, he got this. I just don't understand. Like, it's such an iconic... Like, so, you go into this and I'm like, oh, well, like, he was in the original, like, he's got some sort of connection to the character, to the kind of franchise, whatever. And then you look at his last 3 films, like, all solid films and stuff, and then I just don't know. I don't know if it's this fucking Dekker idiot that got involved or something like that, but the writing is so bad. Like, it's so bad. I'm really trying to be a bit more composed in the Widows rant when it's like, oh, it's just fucking shit, this is shit, blah, blah. I'm trying to be a bit more, like,
Analytical
about it, but it's so offensively, like, trying to connect itself to the original through the writing. Like, I've just got quotes noted down. Like, when the squad are trying to escape from the base, they look at a number of motorbikes, and then Nebraska says, "Get to the choppers." Like that's just so stupid. Like, I know that you want to say the line in that, like, whatever, that's fine, you can, but it's so forced. The connection to when Arnie calls him one ugly motherfucker, or Olivia Munn's going to call him one beautiful motherfucker, and so this is an IMDb's trivia, and I don't know if somebody's put this as like a troll or whatever, but it was during the kind of the lines that I'm saying there. Oh, this is a callback. This is a callback. This is a callback to this. And this one is when the 2 boys are about to set off the fire alarm in the school. One of them hesitates, and the other says, "Do it." This is a line spoken by Dutch to the Predator in the original film. I'm like, technically, it's correct, but who else would have ever made that connection to, like, a 2-word? If the guy had went, do it now, then that would be more of a connection to it or whatever. But no, it was just do it, and apparently that's a connection to it. I don't know. I've just got some quotes written down, and we've just like gave 5 stars across the board for Shane Black's writing. Mm-hmm. And this film contains lines like "fuck me in the face" with an aardvark. The final line is, "What the hell is that?" "That's my new suit, Bubba. I hope they got it in a 42 long." And this is the one that I said to you before the stream. I was like, I'll just like redact the word. But it's when somebody says, Nettles, are you fucking R-worded, man? Use another word, would you? Yeah, man, show a little sensitivity. His son's R-worded? Like, it's so... What the fuck is that? And then Olivia Munn, can you tell your kid to turn down the psychosis, please? And Nebraska's line, and I watched this last night with Rich and Percy, and all of us were like unmuted. Normally we mute for films, but we're actually talking through this. And when Nebraska goes, the worst thing about the end times is they never fucking are. And I just asked them, I was like, guys, what do you think that line means? And both of them are like, I don't fucking know. It was just words. It's so like it's just it's so easy to get this like middle of the road like fine, but this just is so bad. Like I wasn't going into this being like, oh my god, it's gonna like parallel, like, you know, it's gonna be as like same level as the original, but I was like, surely it's gonna be good. Like surely this guy knows how to write action films. Again, the kind of the tangible link to the original was that he was like, you know, not a ghostwriter on it, but he was like a script doctor on it, and he was in it. Wrote Lethal Weapon 1 and 2, like, you know, some of the best like 80s action films, all that kind of stuff. And just for this to be so wrong, and I think Todd, like back to your point, this Decker guy getting like his stuff that he's written before or wrote before, whatever, however you would say it, is so rubbish and like cringy and silly that Shane Black just must have went to him, yeah, you can write the whole script and I'll like, you know, write a little bit of it and then I'll direct it. It's just so dumb. And just before I pass this to you, Massey, but Gaylord being used as a punchline for a joke like 20 years after Meet the Parents, like what are we doing? What are we doing? It wasn't even like 20 years ago. I was like 13 watching it, like Meet the Parents. You know, oh, his name's Gaylord. Whatever. We're doing that in 2018. Like, why? Why? It's just I don't know, man. Like, it's. I went into this film and I seen it in the cinema originally, Todd, and I came out like furious because of how bad it was. Like based on Black's prior work, Predator film, like. One of my favorite franchises. None of the films prior to this, none of them except the original are like good. You know, they are what they are. But going into this with all that pedigree of Shane Black, so excited for it, so hyped for it, and for it to be such a miss, I don't even think I can like, you know, be like, oh well, maybe I overhyped it. I think everybody hyped this up, and it's just such a fail. And one more thing, Shane Black even said in 2022. I'm not going to take the road of blaming anyone, including the studio, for a failed movie. We tried something different. In retrospect, talking of finger on the pulse, I guess we just didn't have that finger. And that's like got to be one of the most like understated things you could ever say. Like, I guess we just didn't have that finger. Mate, it was like, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close, and that's without getting into the shit CGI. I'm mainly just focused on the writing here and and I've not even touched on the acting, but it's just so bad. It's just so like rolling your eyes, like sighing, just going fuck off, like on some of the lines and stuff. It infuriates me. This is the worst film. No, maybe not in terms of quality, but just the most miss film that we've talked about in any of our episodes, I would say.
Fair enough. So that was your initial thoughts.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. No. So going into this, obviously, I wasn't. You guys had already said that. I know, Collie, yourself.
Oh, and sorry,
anyway,
can we just clarify?
Oh.
Massey thought that this was Predators with Adrian Brody, but he chose Shane Black. And then we had to tell him that no, this is the bad Predator film, and we still went and did Shane Black as an episode.
To be fair, the other three films were good.
And I said to you when I rewatched this during the week, Massey, this is the worst thing you've ever done to make us rewatch this.
Until we get to a certain month.
Until then.
Yeah. So like, obviously, you told me it was bad, and the first note I put on my notes, this is before I even started the film, was, is it really that bad? Yeah. yeah, it's really bad. It's offensive, like not just offensively bad, it's genuinely offensive. Some of the stuff that's said, you spoke about like the R word and things, the portrayal of certain characters, the dialogue, the CGI, the story. nothing about it has any sort of redeeming features to it. I was bored through the film. It's a film that has a body count of 58. There's 58 deaths in this film, and I was bored through the whole thing. With a film like that, you would expect some sort of action, some sort of excitement. Nothing. Some of the stuff is just really bad, really bad. The cast, as I say, there's offensive characters, but they're all horribly miscast as well. Like there's not a casting that I would say works, and it's a really, really bad film. It is. It's pretty bloody horrible. We normally go on to obviously wax lyrical about the cast. Let me just run through obviously the actors that we have here. We've got Boyd Holbrook. We have like Jacob Tremblay, Keegan Michael Key, Olivia Munn, Sterling K. Brown, Thomas Jane, Alfie Allen, Jake Busey's there as well. There's enough acting prowess there to give us something. What do you think of the performances? Was there anything that stood out for yourself? Anyone that came out with a sort of with their head held high at all, Collie?
No,
Thank
not
you.
all. Not all. Like Boyd Holbrook is not a leading man. He's so good in Logan. He was so good in A Complete Unknown. He was one of the better things about Dial of Destiny. Like he's a really solid character actor. Kind of, maybe I could hopefully see him in supporting roles, like in the future or whatever. But as a leading man, he's terrible. He's just. I thought like as Johnny Cash in A Complete Unknown, he's so charismatic. In this, I just thought he was so bland, and it's from the get-go. It's when he's like in the camouflage and stuff like that, and he's like, "Oh, don't tell me you guys are betting on hostages dying or whatever." And the guy's like, "Yeah, we are." He's like, "Oh, stick me in for 20 then." Or it's just like so bad. So like I know we've said bad a million times, but just really poor. Olivia Munn is not a good actress. I'll come back to her when we come to like the ratings and stuff like that, but she was just shite as well. And the whole sequence where like she had to get naked was just an excuse for apparently Shane Black to get Olivia Munn naked and just have her crouching down. I don't know. Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre.
Just quickly, sorry, it's so funny you said that because one of my notes is Shane Black determined just to get Olivia Munn's kit off. There's nothing else
and
to
then
it.
not even show anything.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Watch Mad Mike if you want to do that. Yeah, but like the ragtag bunch of guys as well. Bits and pieces like Keegan Michael Key, love him. Like such a good like comedic actor, really miscast. And it just sums it all up when his guts are hanging out and stuff like that, and then him and the man, like his man, like shoot each other. And Percy, when watching this last night, just burst out laughing. He's like, "No way are they going to shoot each other at the same time?" And they did it, and he just went, "Oh, okay, I guess it's just." And the CGI during that part, just to talk on that part, was really bad, really bad. But yeah, they were rubbish. Sterling K. Brown, great actor, really poor in this. Jacob Tremblay, solid child actor and stuff like The Room and that. Room. Sorry, not The Room. Sorry,
Yeah.
Room. Just to make sure we're not confusing it with the masterpiece that is The Room.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's nothing on him. It's nothing on him because he's doing what he's asked, but the portrayal or the kind of the ask of him to portray this kid with autism, or Asperger's or whatever you want to call it, is kind of a broad spectrum description. And then like autism as a superpower, as a narrative device in this is fucking ridiculous. And if you remind me to come back to the final scene, it's part on the writing, but I'll leave that to kind of my conclusion on the film. But like even having him as part of this kind of like, oh, he's working with all the scientists now because he can translate alien language. It's just so dumb. It's so stupid. Even Alfie Allen in this, he's in it for like 2 seconds and he's Irish for some reason. He was wasted. It was cool. One thing that I did quite like, I quite like Jake Busey as the kind of sciencey kind of guy. I thought he was quite funny, just from a delivery aspect. And Gary Busey's his dad, and I thought like that thing was quite cool. But one thing that I didn't think was cool, or like they've kind of retroactively went, oh yeah, he's actually the kid of Gary Busey's character from Predator 2, but that's never addressed in the movie, never hinted at or anything like that, never even mentioned. He doesn't even go like, oh, my dad like was in LA back in like the 90s. That would have been cool because then it would have connected it, but it's just a presumed surname connection. It's so stupid, but yeah, the cast in this is fucking shit, and it's nothing against them for the most part as actors, but yeah, like you say, Massey, just horrendously miscast.
I think one of the bad ones for me as well was Thomas Jane. Seeing him playing someone with Tourette's, like that was just terrible. And again, I don't know why they decided to do this and use like disabilities or like, you know, as like jokes and stuff. It just isn't. It didn't hit at all for me.
It's got Tourette's, by the way, so that's why it's okay to do that.
Oh yeah, I did see that, but like,
yeah, apparently that makes it okay.
Yeah. No, I just think it was so like, for someone who's such a smart writer, it was so dumb, and that is just what annoys me the most, is that it was so stupid. Sterling K. Brown was the big one for me as well, like him like overacting the whole time, being vulgar for the sake of being vulgar. It just didn't do anything. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing about having a kid who's autistic and the way that he acted and using that as a plot device, it just was horrendous. One of the things, like at the start when the chess pieces are all kind of like strewn about and he's like picking up, putting them back in their ways that they were on the board and stuff, and then the three bullies come in and obviously he's got Asperger's or whatever, and they say the line is, "I'm hungry for an Asperger."
Mm-hmm.
Like that straight away just had me checked out. That was it. I was like, oh my god, they're doing this. Yeah, it was bad. Todd?
Yeah, I didn't mind Sterling K. Brown. I thought the over the top stuff was all right for the most part. I think he was the one, and some of the delivery from Keegan Michael Key I thought was serviceable. And I think maybe because I wasn't enjoying it, I dragged stuff, because that's where my sort of thing came from. Was I was like, Sterling K. Brown and Keegan Michael Key are my two things. I've written down Jacob Tremblay is a good child actor. Why is he shit in this? Like, and I don't understand. Like in Doctor Sleep, he doesn't have a lot to do. Doctor Sleep, he's just murdered, and he's better in that than he is in this. Yeah, performances were dog shit. I've just because we've talked about it, and it might lead us nicely onto our next bit. It's every shit stereotype of every disorder that they cover. So like every shit stereotype of Tourette's is there and made fun of. Every shit stereotype of autism. The hands over the ears during the fire alarm, but then he's fine when shit's blown up. Like it doesn't track. It doesn't make sense. It's like it's used when it's needed, and then all of a sudden, we're in this lab with noises and shit going off that's similar to a siren, and he's absolutely fine. Even the delivery of some of the lines. The first note I've got written down is, "What is that? It's above our pay grade." What? Like it's been done, and just to go back to the Fred Dekker stuff, autism and Tourette's and stuff aside, I'm talking about those goofy lines. They really work in these 80s horror, like cheesy sort of like, over the top film. It doesn't work here. The other line, it was by the guys, when they're going down into the facility. Just as let's find the one positive I can find is it just your imagination, or is this haunted room actually stretching? And then the guy every fucking time, like,
yeah, I quite like that. I quite like that.
Got a laugh. That got a genuine laugh out of me, and it was probably the only thing that did. I have a lot. Oh, I also liked, and this isn't performances. Sorry, just on the positives. I like the idea of Predator versus Predator. Like, I like that idea. Of like. For a different reason, I don't like the fact that he's coming to be like, here, have this suit so you can survive. But I like the fact that, like, it's 1 versus 1 versus 1. I like that idea, but that's about it. I've tried to find some positives. I've done my best. And now I'm looking, thinking at my rating. What am I doing when there is a house? Did anybody notice the house number?
No.
The house number was 420.
Oh Jesus!
Nice.
You know what I mean?
I might reassess my rating actually and make it higher now. Unintended.
We've kind of covered the bad things, but do you want to touch on the CGI, Colin? I know you kind of alluded to it a little bit.
Fucking horrendous. Like, so bad. So bad. One of the standouts is when they're fighting the predator hounds or whatever on the field and the one gets blown up. It just looks so, like, rubbish. Apparently, a lot of the blood in this is CGI because they wanted to be able to remove it for certain regions, like China and stuff like that, so they could get, like, better ratings, therefore better box office and that. So that's the reason a lot of it's CGI. But it's just like a $90 million film, and the CGI looks like it's from some of the films that we've watched for the Razzies, and that just so poor. Doesn't look good. The bit where Nebraska like walks up behind the Hellhound and like fucking shoves a nail gun in its head or whatever, he doesn't even look like he's in the same like plane, if that makes sense, as the dog. It looks so fake. And when that happened last night, Percy was like, "Oh, why didn't they just kill it?" I just went, "Oh, maybe it'll come back as like their pet later on." Obviously, I knew that it was going to happen, and he was like, "Ha, very good." And then later on, obviously, it comes back as like a good dog. And Percy's like, "You weren't joking." I was like, "Mate, I was being deadly serious." They lobotomized the predator dog, and it became their friend. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Why does a lobotomy automatically make it act like a real Earth dog as well? That's a bit like it starts making noises like a real dog. What? Sorry, carry on, Colin.
Oh, I said, no, you're absolutely fine. Like, I was expecting to be more outwardly angry about this, but I'm just like so
disappointed.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's not like I'm not angry like I was at Widows because like it was bad in parts or whatever. Like this is just, it was such a letdown then, and it's such a letdown now. And Shane Black should just know better. And see if this was to be his ruin and he never gets a big film again. I think it's fully deserved.
It's fair enough. It's fair enough. I think we've kind of spoken about the Predator more than I'd want to speak about it for the rest of my life.
Okay, yeah. So I'll just do one line then, because obviously I spoke about the whole that's when you shoot Bubba like shit. Maybe I missed it, right? In the kind of, multi-layered, really like high-brow script writing in this. But his son says, when he translates the stuff, he's like, "Oh, I translated this and it means predator killer." And I'm like, how does the predator language know that we call it predator for it then to name its suit the predator killer? So, like that, maybe I just missed that, or maybe that's just him kind of like guessing, like, oh, that's what it translates as, is like it's a suit to kill them, but he's like, oh, it means that it's a predator killer. I don't know, maybe, but the CGI in that sequence was just, thank fuck the movie was over at that point. The suit looked fucking rubbish. It looked so shit. And yeah,
with all the guns and all the little lasers and like fuck off.
Like, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm done, to be honest.
I just wanted to touch on because I love practical stuff and as we all do, it's not an exclusive thing. But the fact that the Predator itself, when it was clearly an actual suit, it was a person running in a suit. Like, it reminded me of 90s Power Rangers. That's all I could see was like a 90s Power Ranger villain, and it was. I don't know how you get that wrong. Or at the beginning, when the blood's dripping on the Predator in the first scene, and I was like, actually, that's really cool. And then it opens its eyes, and its eyes looked off. Like, there's so much that it gets wrong.
Oh yeah, that's horrendous when it's like green eyes or yellow eyes or whatever. Yeah, it looks like it's not even part of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Good shout.
Yeah, that's me. I think.
Fair enough. Let's rate this film. So, Todd, what did you give The Predator?
1.5. And I hate that. I don't know why. We'll go with 1.5 for Sterling K. Brown, Keegan Michael Key, and the stretching room line gets the half star. There we go.
Wow. Collie?
For some reason, I had this as 1 star. I think that was only because of Olivia Munn. Not because of her acting prowess, but yeah, like I was just at half a star. And funnily enough, I discussed this with Rich and Percy last night. They were like, "Do you have to rate things on Letterboxd?" I was like, "Well, I think technically like half a star is the lowest you can rate things." I was like, "But I wonder if from now on I could just log films with like 0 stars, and then for me that means that it is a 0-star film." I don't know. It's as Letterboxd connoisseurs, is that a thing? Like, if you just log it with no stars, does that mean that it's a no-star film? Or I know a lot of people don't give films ratings, so that might be confusing. Is half a star the lowest you can rate stuff?
That's the way I see it. I see half a star
I think,
the
I
lowest
think,
that
I
you
think,
can
I
rate,
think
yeah.
at IMDb you can only rate stuff 1 out of 10 is the lowest.
Yeah.
I don't think you can rate it 0. So
Yeah.
fair. This is the lowest half star I've ever given a film. Then.
Fair enough. Right. Okay. Well.
So what did you give it?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I thought it was just kind of. I gave it half stars off.
Oh, I mean, Todd sounded like he hated it and he chucked it at 1.5.
Yeah,
So I just
yeah.
wanted to
Fair
double
point.
check.
Fair point. Yeah, half a star. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Right. Let's rank our Shane Black films then. So, Collie, give us your rankings.
Nice Guys with the 5, Iron Man 3, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, both 4, but Iron Man 3 just ahead of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and then The Predator, I guess, on a technicality.
Fair. I went Nice Guys, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Iron Man 3, then The Predator. Todd?
Yeah, I'm the same as you, Massey. Nice Guys, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Iron Man 3, and then The Predator.
Fantastic stuff. Well, that is Shane Black. It's a shame we had to end the Shane Black episode on a bit of a downer with that. But that is Shane Black.
Yeah, I'm sorry to disappoint, because there was quite a few people that were like, "Oh, I can't wait to see a rant on The Predator," and maybe I didn't go in as much of a, TikTok worthy rant on this, but like watching it again last night, I'm just exhausted by just how disappointing it is, just how let down it is. It's a completely different kind of dislike to Widows.
No, that's fair enough. Hey, listen, we don't have to do anything for content here. We want to see the real emotions.
I just want to give the fans what they want.
Well, that is a fair point, yeah. Well, how
It's
about
fucking shit? The writing was shit, the acting shit, CGI was shit. Fuck that film and fuck Shane Black. You can clip that. There we go. See?
I'm going to. I'm
Nice.
absolutely going to.
Good,
Perfect. Right. Okay. So, our next episode, Collie, it's your pick.
We are going to be reviewing the work of Mr. Brad Bird. So, to run through the films that we're going to be discussing, it's The Iron Giant, The Incredibles, Ratatouille, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, Tomorrowland, and Incredibles 2. So a very different kind of rate, because we've obviously talked about animated films when it comes to Oscars, but I don't think we've talked about an animated film in as much depth by choosing a director that directs, for the most part, animated films.
And it's a good mix as well. I like the Mission Impossible like red herring in there as well.
Yeah, I'm quite liking, like, obviously Ryan Johnson we did it with Shane Black there. I'm liking choosing a director that's done like a random part of a series. So, down the line we're gonna potentially do, like Cuarón, who did
Harry Potter.
was it Cuarón that did Prisoner of Azkaban? Or was
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did. Or was it Inarritu? No, it's not Inarritu. It's
No,
definitely
it's
Inarritu.
Cuarón. Yeah, it was Cuarón. Yeah,
Cuarón
right, yeah.
randomly did, like, Prisoner of Azkaban. So I'm quite enjoying choosing directors that have done a singular film in a franchise. It's not the first one, but it's not like it's just a randomly placed one. So yeah, and I love the Mission Impossible series. So it's going to be a fun one to discuss.
Definitely. Absolutely. Okay, doke. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks so much for listening. If you're listening on Spotify, remember to hit the like button, subscribe, follow us. Let us know what you thought as well, Shane Black, and if you thought we were harsh on The Predator, or if you had any other thoughts about that. And of course, if you are on Twitter at LCD_pod, we are always tweeting on their stuff as well. And again, you can join the conversation. Let us know what you thought on things. But as Collie said, next episode will be on Brad Bird, very exciting one, and we hope to see you guys on the next one. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Fuck The Predator.